In the 1980s, one woman won against men in every fighting tournament she joined for 5 years straight. She became a huge superstar in Hong Kong, breaking movie records and making fans literally refuse to watch her character die on screen. But when she came back home to America, Hollywood shut the door in her face and gave her chances to guys who couldn't even throw a real punch. This is how the best female fighter of her time got erased from her own country's history. And what happened to her should make you really angry. Here's what you need to know first. When Cynthia Rothrock took over Hong Kong movies, Hollywood got excited. Studio bosses watched this blonde American woman beat opponents on screen and thought they'd found something great. So, they tried to copy it. They brought in Kathy Long, a real kickboxing champion. They gave Karen Shepherd her chance. Mimi Lasso's got her shot. Every single one failed. The movies flopped. People didn't show up. And Hollywood made a choice that would hurt action movies for many years. They said that female action stars just don't sell tickets. But here's the twisted part. The one woman who actually proved she could be a star got left behind in her own country. And what makes this story even crazier is where it all started. Scranton, Pennsylvania, 1970. A 13-year-old girl walks into her first Tang Soo Do class. She's the only girl in a room full of boys and men. She feels totally uncoordinated, can't throw a proper punch, can't even shout the way martial artists are supposed to. Most people would have walked out and never come back. But Cynthia Rothrock looked at that room and made a different choice. Being the worst person there wasn't the end. It was just the start. What happened over the next 10 years sounds almost impossible. Between 1981 and 1985, Rothrock entered over 100 martial arts tournaments. But here's the thing, there were no women's groups. Not enough women competed to create separate categories. So she went up against the men and she totally destroyed them. 32 first-place wins in forms, 12 first-place wins with weapons, 5-time world champion. She had an unbeaten record that seemed supernatural. Her special weapon, hook swords, twin blades that could lock together that she could swing and move in ways that left people stunned. Then came 1983 and everything started to change. Black Belt magazine put Rothrock on their cover as Female Competitor of the Year. She was the first woman to ever appear on the cover of a major martial arts magazine. That same year, scouts from Golden Harvest, the famous Hong Kong movie company, showed up in California. And this is where the story takes its first wild turn. Golden Harvest wasn't looking for a woman. They were on a mission to find the next Bruce Lee, a male martial artist who could fill that huge gap. Director Corey Yuen went to a martial arts show in Los Angeles, looking for potential. Then Cynthia Rothrock stepped onto the floor. She ran through techniques, did some sparring and then pulled out her hook swords. She connected them and started swinging in patterns that seemed to break the laws of physics. The swords moved so fast they created enough force that chunks of plaster started falling from the ceiling. Yuen watched this small American woman using twin blades like a warrior from another time. And every plan about finding a male star disappeared instantly. 2 years later, Rothrock found herself in Hong Kong filming Yes Madam with Michelle Yeoh, who was also making her first major action role. The film paired them as tough cops taking down criminals, and Rothrock played a character originally written for a male actor, a Bruce Lee type. They rewrote it for her, gave her the Chinese name Fok Lok Hua. When Yes Madam hit theaters, it didn't just do well, it broke box office records. The girl from Scranton, who felt so uncoordinated in that first class, had become a huge star in one of the most demanding film markets in the world. But nobody knew the secret she was carrying. Between Yes Madam and her second Hong Kong film, something went really wrong. During training, Rothrock felt something tear in her right knee. The diagnosis was terrible. Complete ACL rupture. Doctors said she needed surgery right away and months of recovery. Rothrock looked at her filming schedule at the chance she'd fought her entire life to get and made a choice that confused medical professionals. She said no to surgery. She was going back to work. Here's where it gets wild. Normally, a torn ACL causes the kneecap to pop out of place repeatedly. Athletes can barely walk without the joint giving out, let alone do acrobatic martial arts. But when doctors looked at Rothrock's leg, they found something remarkable. Her thigh and hamstring muscles had become so powerful through years of training that they were literally holding her kneecap in place without the ligament. Her body had become so strong that it was making up for a career-ending injury. She went back to work and filmed some of the most demanding action scenes of her career on a destroyed knee. As of 2012, she still hadn't had the surgery to fix it. The work she made in Hong Kong became legendary. In Righting Wrongs, she faced off against real-life friend Karen Shepherd in what Rothrock would later call the best fight between two women ever caught on film. The choreography pushed both women to their absolute limits. But here's what really shows how much Hong Kong audiences loved her. The original ending had her character meeting a brutal death. When test audiences saw it, they got upset. They refused to accept it. The filmmakers had to bring Rothrock back for reshoots and change the ending because fans demanded it. She worked with Sammo Hung, one of the godfathers of Hong Kong action movies. She worked with directors who understood martial arts in ways Hollywood never quite got. For 3 years, she made 7 films and did something incredibly rare. She became a real star in Hong Kong before getting success in her home country. Western performers almost never pulled this off. Then came 1988 and the decision to return to America. Producer Pierre David offered Rothrock a role in Martial Law with Chad McQueen. This was her chance to bring that Hong Kong success back home. The film did okay business. Golden Harvest paid for China O'Brien and its sequel, giving her lead roles. She made Lady Dragon Tiger Claws undefeatable. The direct-to-video market was exploding and Rothrock found steady work. She was putting out multiple films per year, building a list that would eventually exceed 60 films. But something was very, very wrong. Despite proving herself in Hong Kong, despite having skills that matched or beat male action stars, Hollywood kept her at arm's length. Arnold Schwarzenegger was making Terminator films. Jean-Claude Van Damme was getting theatrical releases. Chuck Norris had his franchises. And here's the part that should make you furious. Even Steven Seagal, whose martial arts credentials were questionable at best, was landing bigger opportunities than Rothrock. Reports say she almost worked with Sylvester Stallone on a project that could have changed everything. But it never happened. She remained trapped in direct-to-video, making films with tiny budgets and limited distribution. And this is where Hollywood made its biggest mistake. The frustrating reality: her films made money. China O'Brien became a cult classic. Undefeatable developed devoted fans. People from Germany to Indonesia knew her name and would mob her at appearances. She'd make stadiums go crazy in the United States, but those same audiences weren't seeing her films in theaters. After watching other female martial artists fail to copy Rothrock's success, executives made their calculation. Women couldn't lead action films. The few attempts had flopped, and rather than seeing that Rothrock had something genuinely special, they wrote off the entire idea. You have to understand, this wasn't some B-movie stuntwoman. Cynthia Rothrock was the real deal. Undefeated competition record, 7 black belts. She competed against men and won repeatedly. While Seagal was building a career on claims about his background that would later fall apart under scrutiny. Rothrock, who had genuinely earned every credential she held, was stuck in films most people would never see in theaters. The industry decided she lacked star appeal, which really meant they didn't believe audiences would pay to see a woman lead an action film. But here's what really stings. Michelle Yeoh started in Hong Kong at almost the exact same time. Yes, Madam was Yeoh's first major action role, too. Both women proved themselves in that demanding environment. Yet, Yeoh eventually broke through to mainstream Western success in ways Rothrock never did. After Everything Everywhere All at Once, Yeoh got the recognition she always deserved, winning awards and getting huge mainstream success. The question isn't whether Yeoh deserved it. She absolutely did. The question is why Hollywood couldn't make room for both of them. Why did only one get to break through? And Rothrock's influence went places people don't even realize. The character Sonya Blade from Mortal Kombat, one of gaming's most iconic female fighters, was directly inspired by watching Rothrock's films. She shaped pop culture in ways that never got properly acknowledged. Her fans understood what she represented. A martial arts teacher in Ecuador shared a story about Rothrock calling someone's cell phone. When the teacher saw her name appear, they immediately stopped class so everyone could FaceTime with her. These teachers said talking to Rothrock was one of the highlights of their lives. In Bosnia, in Thailand, around the world, martial arts practitioners grew up watching her films and seeing what was possible. Then something unexpected happened. In 2004, after Extreme Fighter, Rothrock retired. She opened a martial arts studio in California and focused on teaching. For 8 years, she stayed away from film. Many thought that was the end. The queen of martial arts had hung up her hook swords for good, but 2012 brought a comeback. Rothrock returned with Santa's Summerhouse and more roles followed. She kept working, kept adding to her filmography. She taught seminars traveling the world to share her expertise, and the recognition kept coming, even if mainstream Hollywood remained uninterested. In 2016, something remarkable happened. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Dr. Robert Goldman put Rothrock into the International Sports Hall of Fame. She was the first martial artist at male or female to receive this honor. Not a film award, but acknowledgement from the sports world that what she accomplished was historic. In 2022, she received the Martial Arts Super Show Lifetime Achievement Award, joining previous recipients like Chuck Norris. Then came March 2024. Black Belt magazine published their list of most influential women martial artists on the planet. Cynthia Rothrock ranked number 1, not in some small category, number 1, period. And that same year, she co-wrote, produced, and starred in Black Creek, a dystopian western combining martial arts with a gritty survival story. She brought back faces from China O'Brien, Richard Norton, and Keith Cook. At an age when most action stars have long retired, Rothrock was still creating, still fighting, still proving what she could do. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. Hollywood didn't forget Cynthia Rothrock. They chose not to remember her. She proved what she could do, but the industry wasn't interested in building major films around female martial artists. It was easier to keep making films for male action stars than to challenge assumptions about who could lead an action franchise. She earned legitimate credentials most action stars could only dream about. She proved herself in one of the most competitive film markets in the world. She built a devoted fan base that still exists decades later. But Hollywood looked at all of that and decided it didn't matter because she was a woman. If that doesn't make your blood boil, it should. The male action stars of her era got chance after chance. Big budgets, theatrical releases, franchise opportunities. Some had a fraction of her actual martial arts skill, but they fit what Hollywood thought an action star should look like. Rothrock didn't. The industry tried to copy her success with other women, failed, and blamed the concept of female action stars rather than looking at their own failures. Academic studies describe her career as falling short because she never achieved major Hollywood stardom. But that framing accepts Hollywood's perspective as the only valid measure of success. Rothrock became a legitimate star in Hong Kong, something incredibly few Western performers ever achieve. She built a career lasting decades. She influenced action cinema and pop culture in ways still being discovered. She changed what was possible for women in action films, even if she never got full credit. The direct-to-video films that defined her American career are often dismissed, but they found audiences. They made money. They gave fans legitimate martial arts action that mainstream Hollywood wasn't providing. Rothrock was doing real martial arts choreography and performing her own stunts long before that became something to celebrate. She proved women could carry action films before the industry was ready to admit it. What Rothrock did for women in action cinema cannot be overstated. Every female action star working today, whether they know it or not, is working in a space Rothrock helped create. She proved women could handle demanding fight choreography. She showed female martial artists could be compelling leads. She demonstrated audiences would embrace women who could actually fight. The fact that Hollywood took so long to learn these lessons doesn't diminish what she accomplished. Her current work represents another form of legacy. She's training new generations, passing down techniques that took decades to master. The Martial Arts Association bearing her name gives fans direct access to her knowledge. She's building something that will outlast any single film. And she's doing it while still creating new projects, still finding ways to contribute on her own terms. The story of Cynthia Rothrock is ultimately about resilience. She faced being the only girl in that room and used it as motivation. She competed against men and dominated. She went to Hong Kong when they wanted a male star and became a phenomenon. She tore her ACL and kept performing at the highest level. She came back to America and got stuck in direct-to-video. She retired and came back because she had more to give. But resilience alone shouldn't have been necessary. Talent should have been enough. Achievement should have opened doors. Success in Hong Kong should have translated to Hollywood opportunities. The fact that Rothrock had to fight for every inch of recognition, while male counterparts with lesser credentials got more chances, reveals deep problems in how the film industry operates. What remains is the work itself. 7 Hong Kong films showcasing martial arts cinema at its finest. Dozens of American productions giving fans the action they craved. A competition record that speaks for itself. 7 black belts earned through dedicated training. Honors from the sports and martial arts communities. A video game character inspired directly by what she brought to the screen, and ongoing work showing she's not done. Cynthia Rothrock changed what was possible. She kicked down sealed doors. She competed when there were no women's divisions and won anyway. She became a Hong Kong star when Western performers rarely succeeded there. She built a decades-long career despite systemic obstacles. She inspired generations and showed countless women they could excel in a male-dominated field. The tragedy isn't that Rothrock failed. She didn't. She succeeded in ways that should have been impossible. The tragedy is that success wasn't enough for an industry that couldn't see past its limited vision. She proved she belonged at the highest levels. And Hollywood said it didn't matter. She earned her place in history, but had to fight for recognition that should have been automatic. Today, Cynthia Rothrock continues. She teaches, trains, makes new projects. She remains the queen of martial arts, a title earned through skill, dedication, and an undefeated record that speaks louder than any film role. Her fans worldwide remember what she accomplished. The martial arts community recognizes her as a legitimate legend regardless of what Hollywood decided. The real question isn't why we forgot Cynthia Rothrock. The question is, when will we finally give her the recognition she's deserved all along? When will mainstream conversation about action cinema acknowledge that one of the greatest martial artists ever to appear on film was pushed to the margins because of her gender? When will we admit Hollywood missed a massive opportunity by not building franchises around someone with her legitimate skills and proven appeal? Cynthia Rothrock is still here, still working, still inspiring. She's still the warrior who swung hook swords so hard plaster fell from the ceiling. Still the competitor who went undefeated for 5 years against men. Still the actress who made Hong Kong audiences demand her character be brought back to life. Still the martial artist whose dedication let her perform on a destroyed knee. Hollywood may have forgotten her, but those who understand martial arts cinema never will. She remains what she's always been, the forgotten queen of 1980s martial arts cinema who deserved so much more than she ever received. And maybe someday Hollywood will finally admit what the rest of the world has known for decades, that Cynthia Rothrock was always one of the greatest action stars we never properly celebrated.